Joe, you're Notre Dame Fighting Irish winning the SEC country and got a win against Mike Elko, which everybody knows Mike Elko is now the head coach of Texas A&M. But game one, a thriller last night in Aggieland. But Notre Dame, kind of like the way that we had talked, we thought that this might play out. It's just game one for Mike Elko, man. This game was going to be close. We actually both said it would be a touchdown game here, touchdown to field goal game, and that's where it was. And what are your thoughts about how yesterday's game with A&M and Notre Dame played out?
So first of all, to the SEC fans that are taking my excited reaction to my team beating Texas A&M on the road to imply that I was saying that they're going to win a national championship, grow up. I'm allowed to be excited. Those words didn't come out of my mouth. Secondly, I understand that Connor Weigman played poorly in this game, but one thing was really proven to me, Blake. This was proven to me that Notre Dame's defense is one of the best in the country. That's not an overreaction. That's not hyperbolic. Their defensive line was downhill and aggressive. They were producing pressures with light fronts. They were stopping what was going to be a potentially quality Texas A&M run game against. That's not a bad offensive line, too. That is an relatively experienced offensive line that they made look bottom tier. They were able to produce turnovers by creating confusion for Weigman and then having the defensive backs that were opportunistic enough to make plays. But more importantly is that they rally and they tackle. They do not allow guys to break out and have yards after catch. That is the definition of a good defense. And Al Golden has produced this Notre Dame defense to a level that they are going to be good enough to compete with the top teams in the country. There is more to be desired on some things offensively, which we will talk about in a second, but I feel extremely proven that Notre Dame's defense deserves more credit and love for how freaking good it is. And we have seen teams in the history of college football rely on their defenses to go on runs. Their schedule's weak as shit. I don't care. They're going to the playoff. They would need to have a complete, utter meltdown with this schedule to not make the playoff.
All right. I let me start off by saying this. I love you.
Don't start your sentence with that. Don't start your sentence with that.
Well, I do love you. But I think that there are some things that we need to talk about, okay? You're in a dogfight with a team in Texas A&M that might be a 6-6 football team, 7-5 football team, and you know that. And you're in a dogfight in week one. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. I do think Riley Leonard in this offense will be better as the season goes on. They need the reps. The problem that I had all offseason when me and you talked about this game in particular and talked about them, I think that there was there was not a lot of cohesion at times with Leonard and this offense. Joe, that defensive line for A&M got after him. And I know that you might not play better defensive lines on your schedule, but what is your ultimate goal? Like if I
it's to win playoff games.
It's to win playoff games. Joe, there's going to be much more better overall teams than what you saw in A&M. It's week one, and you got a lot that you're going to figure out as the season goes on. Joe, third down for Notre Dame was abysmal. Okay, you want to know why that game was so close? Let's call it what it is. You were abysmal on third down, and I'm a Mike Denbrock apologist. Okay, I love Mike. I will always love his family and what he does. I love him as a play caller. Last night, he got out-schemed and out-coached, and I love him to death, but he did, okay? And I think he would be the first one to tell you that. Now, Riley Leonard also made some very bad throws on third down, but to your point, I said this on other shows. I went on 12 different shows this week, and I told everybody this, so now I'm going to tell you here. I said, do not tell my co-host Joe this. However, I think that Notre Dame's defense, by far in their secondary for sure, is one of the best defenses in the country. What they made Connor Weigman look like was very impressive. Now, we'll get to Weigman in just a moment. Our takes on him actually kind of played out to exactly to what we thought they might.
Yeah.
Joe, if they're going to be a team that can make a run in the playoffs, they got a lot to clean up on offense. But sometimes in a hostile environment like you have in Notre Dame going to Kyle Field, getting a win is a win. Okay, no, A&M still got really good athletes. They still got some really good players. They got a lot that they got to fix on the O-line. Jeremiah Love, I thought, played fantastic. The kid is a really good back. I should have listened to you more on that. And that's where they ultimately won the football game.
That's the first time you've ever said that, but go ahead. Well, you should have listened to me on something.
I should have listened to you.
You're growing. I'm really proud of you.
Okay. Well, I thought that the 198 yards that Notre Dame had, a lot of that coming in the second half, is why they ultimately won the football game, was because of the explosive runs they had in the second half. Let me flip over to A&M. Joe, remember our conversation that you and I had about Colin Klein when he got hired there?
Mm-hmm. That was some weak ass play calling, by the way. That was some
bad play calling.
He was. I don't know if we saw more separation of a coordinator who was outcoached by the opposing coordinator. Al Golden was running laps around him. Like it wasn't even. He knew what he was about to do every single time it was coming. And there were some really soft ass third downs too. These overly conservative. I hate teams that do this shit, and it was my biggest qualm with the Clemson game, where you call these just cop out third downs to just get off the field with a 4th and short. That happened a lot in this game.
The thing that I was so here's what I'm going to say about Connor Weigman. The last real 2 Power 4 teams that we saw him play, Miami and Notre Dame. And people were arguing with us that this Notre Dame defense wasn't the best team that he's ever played against defensively. It vastly is.
What the hell? Like, why were people trying to say that? Like, what?
But he went 12 of 30 yesterday with 2 interceptions. And here's another thing. I'm going to tell you this too. Joe, if Notre Dame does not force both of those turnovers, because of momentum, I really thought that they were going to lose. If they had not forced both of those, Joe, momentum, it really felt like to me through 3 quarters that if Notre Dame allowed them to continue to stay around, they're going to get beat. But the costly turnovers that Weigman had, that was what it was. And this was literally what you and I talked about in the preview of this game. Can we watch Connor Weigman or Wigman, whatever his name is, can we watch him actually go through a season and do good things? Can we see him be a good quarterback? We have anointed this kid because A&M has anointed this kid. He got absolutely abused. He was more confused than I think I've ever seen him. And it's not like we have a big sample size of him. But, man, I got to tell you, though, defensively, though, A&M's pretty freaking good, bud. They're really good defensively. They got dudes.
Especially up front. Especially up front.
But I'll say this and ending it. He got no help from his play calling in Colin Klein.
Mm-hmm. I think this is why I came into this week. I did a number of spots. Hopped on with our good friend Chris Phillips, our good friend Tyler Pittenger. Awesome getting to catch up with them. TJ, Jesus, oh man, that's gonna come back to bite me in the ass.
Yeah, because he's gonna.
I played football with a kid named Tyler Pittenger. Sorry, TJ. I said on those spots and some of the other spots that I did that this is a confidence building win. Sure, look, Texas A&M could end up being 7-5 this year. I don't think they're that bad. I really don't. I think that they're going to be better than 7-5. I think they could finish the year 8-4 and be a ranked team, which is still a good quality win. But to go on the road in an environment that is deemed to be one of the hardest, that has been an upset-worthy situation for teams like LSU a couple of years ago when they went to the SEC championship game, it has been a trap situation.
When they went to a national championship.
It has been a trap situation notoriously. For Notre Dame to come out of that with a 10-point win and to look as competent and dominant as they did on defense and to show some strong things on offense that they can build on, that's the momentum that they need for this season. Anyone who wants to act like Texas A&M's dog shit and that them beating them means nothing, that there's no truth to that. That is a tough, difficult situation to come out of. And I'm not worried about the offense. Riley Leonard didn't play in the spring. For him to not play in the spring and to step in and to clearly still be trying to build chemistry with his O-line and his receivers in this game, I feel like they're going to eventually get there. I feel like Mike Denbrock was 3/4 of the way opening up the playbook. I think that this playbook is going to continue to open up. And I think eventually...
I think Mike opened it up big time.
I don't think that they did. I think that there was.
After watching him the last 2 years, bullshit, he didn't.
I think that there was some relative conservative decision making with what they were trying to do.
That came probably from Marcus too. I call bullshit. And you know what? You better have been opening it up because you almost would have gotten beat. You can't hold punch.
Okay.
Joe, if they would have gotten beat, if they would have gotten beat and he didn't open it up, you would be coming in here getting pissed off that he didn't open it up.
You can't open it up, and I'm talking about in the sense of like taking deeper shots down the field and being aggressive downfield.
I don't think they could have.
You couldn't do that because of how quickly they were generating pressure with 4-man fronts. They couldn't. So with all of that happening, they had some really nice plays, some deep throws that were in that 10 to 15 margin that they were able to connect on. I think that they're going to watch that film and they're going to realize this is where our bread and butter is. It's not going to be trying to throw to the flat and pick up yards after the catch. They can connect on the sideline with a guy like Bo Collins with that ridiculous throw that he made, and they can find their tight ends in space. I think that this is just a catalyst, what could be a big year for Notre Dame. I know that we're not going to talk about them probably until they play Florida State, but I just feel this is the best I have ever felt. I have never felt this good about a Notre Dame team. Sorry, under Marcus Freeman. Under Marcus Freeman. Sorry.
Okay.
Let me rephrase.
I was about to rip you. All right, let me say this to you. If you feel the best after this win against an A&M team with a coach who's in year one in game one, I don't know that you should feel that confident.
Come on, we can't discredit this win. I understand that it's not a national. They didn't beat Bama. That's discrediting it a little bit. That's discrediting a little bit what you said.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this God's honest question. If anybody else in the country would have beat the dog shit out of a team like A&M, you would not be having this. I know you well enough. You would be saying it's a good win, but they didn't really prove anything. And Joe, I'm gonna be real with you now. The cohesiveness also showed up in the stat line when it comes to penalties. Y'all jumped way too much.
It's the loudest stadium in college football. Come on, we gotta like.
Joe, no, it's not.
Okay, one of the loudest.
I've been to almost every SEC stadium. It's up there, but it ain't the loudest.
I hate you so much.
It's not. Joe, again, if they're a 7-5 team and that's your best win, then what? Because it might be your best win. And
wait, hold on one second.
No. Let me get to this point too. Did I or did I not tell you all offseason that Riley missing the spring and him having a setback was going to be problematic with them trying to force the football down the field?
But they still overcame that. They still the fact that they were able to overcome that in your first game at Kyle Field against Texas A&M makes me feel pretty good of how things are going to pan out in November when they play Florida State, when they play USC, and when they go to play in a playoff game.
I'm going to tell you this now. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that one alone. Y'all better be ready for that Stanford Cardinal.
Oh, stop. Okay, wait, before we move on here, look, all I want to say is that I as much as we want to try to discredit the opponent that they had, that still was a pretty effective of a win. And I think that Florida State, like we were saying earlier, that there's a chance that Clemson can go on a 10-2 type of a run. Florida State finishes the year 10-2, and they're banging on the door of the ACC championship game. I don't think they're going to be that bad that they're suddenly out of the ACC championship conversation. That's still a good win. USC, even if they lose today, is going to be a good ranked win. I'm not trying to act like that they're going to have a world beater type of a schedule here. I'm not trying to act like that, but they don't have like complete they have winnable games against ranked opponents. That's what they have. This video is sponsored by the online fitness training camp presented by Chris Gates Fitness. When I first started talking about Chris, about partnering with our show, not only was I excited to have a fitness sponsor for our pod, but more importantly, when I found out about how he can help people achieve their goals, I was even more bought in, because when the football season starts, it is so tough to stay on top of things and also to be able to enjoy yourself on Saturdays when it's game day. With Chris Gates Fitness's online training camp, you're going to be able to effectively stay focused, consistent, burn fat, build muscle, and do it with a like-minded community of individuals working towards the same thing. On top of this, you're going to be able to get direct coaching from Chris and the ability to ask him questions with an access to a live Q&A where you can get direct personalized support from Chris himself. Don't wait any longer. If you're trying to get in shape during this fall and you want to be able to do it with the right support system, head on over to chrisgatesfitness.com/training camp or click the link in the description. And you need to do it today because you can get the first month. Personal training is expensive, folks. The first month for only $10 when you use that code RuffinoJoe. Don't wait any longer. Head on over there. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.